run down to the GST, there was a lot of apprehension from various states. A lot of objections was being raised. So for that, we took such a long time. So what are their concerns?
So there are certain states which are production driven, and there are certain states which are consumption driven. Typically, in the VAT regime or in the current regime, it is the production states which makes maximum revenue, whereas in the GST regime, where it is tax on the consumer, the ultimate consumer, it will be the consumption states which will be making the revenue. So obviously, some of the states which are strong on production, they had a concern that they will lose revenue. That is where the central government has stepped in, and there is a provision which is being built in, where for the next 5 years, as Sridhar said, that the central government will compensate the states which are losing revenue. But I think because of the greater transparency that is going to come in, I think all the states, the economy in general, and all the states will not see a loss of revenue to the extent that they are expecting it to happen.
So do you see all the 5 years we will not be the state center need not be compensating the states?
Yes, that is the popular belief, that we don't have to see this kind of a reimbursement going on for the next 5 years.
Basically, the compensation is an element which is determined based on what is the state revenue today in the current taxation regime. Currently, state is taxing based on sale. If we talk about the predominant tax, VAT, or about state levied taxes, they are levied at the point of sale and collected by the state. So, but GST is a radical shift from the current taxation base, because it will not be at a point of sale, it will be more at a consumption based tax. So there is a shift in the base of taxation, wherein there are concerns that the particular tax which will be paid based on consumption will be in the state of consumption rather than the state of sale. So this brings in a paradigm shift where revenue can move from a state of manufacture to a state of consumption. This has raised concern in manufacturing states who were earning this revenue on account of manufacture, which otherwise in the new GST regime will go on to a state which is consuming those goods. So this has raised concern about revenue losses to the particular state, and every state has raised this particular issue with the central government that on implementation of GST, due to the shift in the base of the taxation, that their revenues will come down. So the state government has been very rigid in terms of accepting the GST bill to the extent that they are suffering revenue losses. In order to implement the GST, the central government has assured the state governments that the difference, if any, arising on account of implementation of GST will be evaluated and they will be compensated over the next 5 years. However, on an analysis, we see that the states which are manufacturing are more concerned than the states which are consuming, and manufacturing states, much whatever being lesser in number, are being addressed. And we see that because manufacturing states are lesser in number, the compensation might be much lesser what we are discussing in terms of amount or in terms of number of states appealing for compensation will be lesser than what we think otherwise. So it will not be all the states going in for a compensation claim, it will be those states who get affected on implementation of GST.
So Ravindra, just taking ahead from your point, the state which is producing will see a greater demand for its products, because now there will be a uniform tax rate across the country, and consumers from other states, there will be an increase in demand because the prices are going to be lower than the current because of lesser taxation. There is going to be demand in other states as well. So the state which is producing will see more demand of its products, and there will be more sale, and automatically, if not indirect tax payment, will increase from that particular state. So I think it will be a shift from indirect tax to direct tax, and there will be no real loss to a state which is producing.
I agree with Rajesh. The overall GST will lead to an increase in overall industrial output and service which is getting consumed today. Due to the increased output and increased service consumption will lead to higher GDP. Higher GDP always implies higher revenue to the government in the form of taxes. I agree with it.